What's up, everybody, and welcome to New Thought Talk Show, the show where we simply take a subject, be it political, religious, philosophical, whatever, and discuss it in such a way or with the hopes that we all gain new thought and new perspective about that subject. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the subject of Miss Kim Davis, the lady who was arrested in Kentucky for refusing to issue a marriage license to a same sex couple. So let's jump right in and talk about it. So, what are you guys' overall thoughts about this thing that has happened? Here we are again in the midst of sort of controversy with the LGBT community and their rights as human beings. So, what are you guys' overall thoughts about what Kim Davis did or what she refused to do?
My first thought is not any of her business what other people want to do. She took it on herself to deny people something that they have been given a right to do, and that's not fair because of her religious belief. It's just not right. So I think her punishment may have been excessive. Well, I'll take that back. I don't think it's excessive. I think she had the wrong punishment. Instead of uh, putting her in jail, she should have got fired. I mean, in my opinion, because if she didn't want to do her job, then she shouldn't be getting paid to do it.
Sure.
Now that makes more sense. I agree. She should have been fired. Why are you putting me in jail for not doing my job? Did I? Okay, did she break the law by refusing? She didn't adhere to the law, but was she breaking the law? I think
I
that's
think,
the
yeah, I
question.
think it was more so of the because of the controversy with this whole LGBT thing, like because it's such a big thing right now, as is other crimes like the cops and black people and stuff like that. I think probably the LGBT community was pushing for that. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess.
Pushing for her arrest.
Yes.
I would not push for her arrest, but for her to be terminated so that we can get someone
Hmm.
in there who will give out these licenses since ultimately that's what you want. You want the license. I'm really not really that concerned about Kim Davis and her convictions or what have you. As a Christian, if that's what she felt convicted to do, that's her business. Quit. You were hired for a job and now your description and your job description is to do A, B, and C. If you are unable or unwilling to do A, B, and C, then you do not have that job. Period. But I don't know about throwing her in jail.
Yeah, the jail thing was probably a little bit excessive. Now, I also read that she is a relatively new convert to
Christianity?
apostolic Christianity, which is,
Oh.
it has a very strict regime of of religious rules. So I think that's part of what happened. I think they said she was only about 4.5 years that she kind of changed her life around. Now, just a little bit more of information for you guys if you don't know. They said that she's been married 4 times, twice to the same guy. Um, I'll just leave it at that. So stuff like that. And then she came out and said something about that she was aware that she was, or that she used to be on the devil's playground, and now she's converted herself and stuff like that. So she feels strongly about her beliefs right now. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that for somebody? Because this is something that happens a lot in the religious community. Like
Definitely.
people who become recent converts or neophytes of a particular faith are always, always the hardcore ones. So, like, I mean, should she sit down somewhere and be quiet and learn a little bit more? Or is she, I mean, according to her rules in the apostolic faith that she's in, did she make the right decision by doing what she did?
I'm sure she didn't. I mean, there's no wisdom in what she did. And that's kind of one of the things we talk about in the description you had about her being new or immature in her faith. She has no wisdom. She took it on herself to go to just have an impulse and without thinking, okay, how am I affecting myself? How am I affecting other people? How am I representing my faith? And also another tidbit of information, she also refused heterosexual couples marriage license. Also, that came out that she was doing that also with heterosexuals, and there had been complaints about her.
What was the reason for that?
I didn't find out what those reasons were, but there were heterosexual and gay couples complaining about her, and I think there had been a lawsuit started by one of the heterosexual couples. So
That
she's
probably
not
has
only
no
been,
bearing
yeah.
on this though, since she admittedly says that she didn't want to issue a marriage license to same-sex couples.
Right.
So I guess I would see the argument if she was, if that was balanced out, if she just denied as many heterosexual people as she did LBGT people.
Yeah, but it's
So
still the
does she have
fact.
a room to deny people,
Yeah,
or
that's
is
what I'm
it
saying.
her just her job to just give these licenses?
It's a principle that she's making the decision
Okay,
herself on
you
what
can't
I
get
think there is
what
a
married.
she's
level
You
going to
of
do.
can't get
I think there is
married.
a level of discretion that they're given as part of their job though to make particular decisions, because a lot of people, I mean, you got to think about, a lot of people do come in and probably, let's say for instance, if somebody is trying to get
A green
a green card, I
card.
was just what I was about to say, they get married for particular reasons like that. So I mean, I would imagine that there is some level of discretion in what she does with her job. But what my question though is, if if what we're saying about her job, which I agree with, if her particular job says A, B, and C, like you said,
Hmm.
does that not apply also to if she's submitted herself to a particular faith that says A, B, and C? Which is she then within her rights to make the decision that she made?
It's kind of like if you were in a religion where you can't kill animals and then you go and work in a slaughterhouse. I mean, you're going against what your beliefs are, but you have to do your daily job. I mean, it makes no
Then you
sense.
may need to find another job.
You may need to find another occupation. Yes.
That's what I'm
Right.
thinking.
And she also, if I'm not mistaken, I think they said she's not fired. She didn't lose her
No,
job.
she didn't lose her job.
So she's going to be, I think it's going to be a
So
different
then what is
job
the
now.
point?
This leads us though into a larger topic of discussion of basically the separation of church and state, meaning that how do we how do we make those two things coexist? Because I think that that's what this whole issue comes down to. She, in her own right, I don't think she doesn't seem like a bad person or anything like that. She just seems strong in her particular faith, which most people who are a part of a particular religion are strong in their faith at some degree.
You would hope.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Or why have it?
But with this issue of church and state, how do we reconcile that? Like, what is this? Because we have the presidential election coming up. There has not been a president that has been elected in the United States that has not been a part of some religious faith.
Hmm.
However, at the same time, we're saying that by law, religion can't be a factor. Your faith can be a factor in decisions that we're making. But at the same time, we're kind of requiring that our political leaders have some type of religious faith. You see the contradiction there? So, like,
No, I don't see the contradiction in that because this thing is black and it's kind of black and white. I mean, there's no gray area. And what I want you to understand is that what that excuse me that it's a clause called the darn I forgot it establishment clause or something like that
Mhm.
in the Constitution that says that the government cannot make laws around religious faiths.
yeah, that's in the
That's
Bill of
basically
Rights.
they're
Yeah.
saying they cannot make a law requiring you to have a particular faith or belief system.
Mhm.
That's all that's saying.
Right.
There is no law requiring anyone to have any faith, particular faith or religious-based laws.
But I find
This law that was passed that allow lesbian, gay people to marry is not a law forcing a religion on them. So it does not apply in this situation. Where it does apply is where in we talk about these federal buildings and things where they have the Constitution in, and then they have next to it the Ten Commandments. Yeah, that applies there because that's basically trying to, I guess, push the Christianity on people in a certain way. It's a representation of Christianity. So if I'm a Muslim and I'm American, I go into a government establishment, I'll feel out of place. Like, well, okay, I'm a Muslim, I don't feel wanted or I feel excluded. And that's the same thing when we talk about prayer in schools. Like with that thing I mentioned earlier about the story of the teacher that was teaching children about Islam, and the parents got upset. The parents don't want their children taught Islam. Well, at the same time, people of Islam don't want their children taught Christianity, and then the people who are Hindus don't want people of whatever other religion. So the easiest thing to do is don't allow anyone to do any of it, and it really doesn't, in my opinion, have no place in an educational environment in the first place. I don't see any benefit in religion in education. I don't see it.
Ooh, that's a whole nother bag of tricks there.
If you have, I mean, if you have your religion, I have my religion. We practice that in private, and we're in a public situation. I don't want you pushing anything on me like you don't want me pushing anything on you. So it's just wisdom to not have that as a factor in our education, because we're here to learn and put ourselves in a position to have a brighter future for ourselves, our families.
And God doesn't belong in that.
I don't necessarily think, I don't agree with that. I don't think I would agree with that. I think that, especially with the historical nature of faith and religion, that it deserves a place in education to where it can be taught. The issue, though, comes in is when it's starting to be forced on people, or when people are starting to feel like it's being forced on them.
That's my point.
Now, at the same time, what needs to be dealt with then is the fact that what we're doing is educating our children and letting them know what these particular religions are. We're not in our schools saying that, hey, Islam is the way, hey, Christianity is the way, hey, Judaism is the way. We're not saying that. It's an education thing, just like any other event in our American history would be. You know, if, you know, the bombing of Hiroshima, it's the same thing. We're not saying that this is the right thing to do or we should be bombing Hiroshima per se, anyway, maybe by implication in some respects, but
my thing is there are schools that have a focus on those things. There are Christian schools, there are Catholic schools, whatever else religion. I don't know if they have Muslim schools or not, but I'm pretty sure they may. There I can see where you can incorporate it, but we're talking a public place where there should be an even playing.
Well, we have a moment of silence, and in that moment of silence, you can pray to whomever you choose,
That's
or
fair.
not.
That's fair.
And I believe that a moment to pray before your day begins is beneficial, because regardless of your faith base, prayer does change things. When it changes your mindset, it gets you focused and prepared for the day. Those types of things matter, and to me should be incorporated in our education.
But why is it not feasible to pray and do those things before you get to school, or on your way to school, or to yourself while you're at school? Why does it have to be a public display of a prayer?
It's not necessarily public display. I just like the idea that we have this moment together to have a moment of silence and pray together, although separate. And that's just
I don't disagree with that.
It's something about coming together that there is power in that. Now, I'm not trying to push my radical beliefs on anyone, because I doubt if my beliefs are that radical. But there is power in prayer, and studies have shown over and over and over again, regardless of your faith base, when people pray, things change.
Well, we've kind of digressed a little bit off the point. My point about the contradiction, though, of this Kim Davis thing and how it relates to religion is, what we're saying is that religion shouldn't be a factor in these matters. But at the same time, by the same token, we don't elect presidents who are not part of faiths.
Okay.
We don't. So there's an underlying sort of assumption, if you will, that a person of a political stature has to be of faith. Would we elect an atheist president? Could you guys even see that happen?
It wouldn't happen, but there's no law preventing that.
Absolutely.
So it's
and
all
we couldn't really
based
even
on,
prove it, because people can say
Right.
one thing and
So what
another.
what is the implication of that then? Or I mean, we're saying then that religion then is resourceful or does serve a purpose in certain aspects and not in others.
I always said religion always has a purpose. That is another show, and we discussed that. But again, we all were of different mindset when it came to that. Anyway, but you want someone who has some type of faith greater than beyond themselves. You don't want someone believing that they're the end all be all, the great powerful one.
Well, what I'm saying is, why wouldn't we want that same thing in a position like Kim Davis' position?
That's fine. However, I think that she was trying to push her beliefs on everybody. There are people who are Christian who don't have a problem with it. So you can't blanket that one belief that does not go to every denomination, every religion. You can't do that. It has to be
But
something.
wouldn't that be what a president would be doing, though? Like, if a president is over a country and he is of a particular faith, say Christianity, which most of them have been, which we require them to be. The whole thing with Obama being a Muslim, why that was such a big deal, although it is a religion and it is a faith-based religion, we pretty much demanded him by all implications that he be of Christian faith. So if we're demanding that and we're saying that, okay, because we need our country ran by somebody who has faith or who has a particular religion and stuff like that, so he can base his because so he can base his decisions or somehow be more moral in some ways about the decisions he makes about a country. Why is that not the same thing when it concerns a position like Kim Davis's position?
That's why people are so angry with him right now, because of the policies he put into place about abortions, and of
Correct.
course the most latest thing, the lesbian marriages are he's supporting that.
Homosexual.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The lesbian's not the
I'm
only one
sorry.
who can get married.
I'm sorry.
Gay boys, y'all can marry each other.
Homosexual.
And it is
marriage.
nationwide now, right?
It is.
It is.
Coast to
So
coast.
yeah, you're right. I mean, when it boils down to the truth, it's only a political tool to get votes. When you really think about it, it's just okay. Hey, I'm from the South. Hey, I'm Christian too. Hey, oh
Right.
wow, that's the guy we want to go with. They put him in office, and of course, he can't be that guy. You can't be the president making calls on religion, because you have to service the entire country. You have to service every person. You represent all of us. You don't represent a group. You represent us all. So he can't make decisions based on his faith for people who have no faith.
Right.
It's
And
not
that's
fair.
what I'm saying. And we're almost at the same time we're not electing him unless he's saying he's going to do that.
Yeah.
I
Unless
love
he's
how y'all
inclined.
keep saying him, because we may be electing her.
That's even another thing too. Like, all of the presidents thus far have been men, and before Obama they have been white men. So by implication, even before then, we're saying that okay, it's cool to be black. We don't mind black people, but year after year, century after century, decade after decade, it's a white man that's a president. It's not a woman that's a president. Same thing. Okay, women, they're equal. They have, same
You don't
powers
sound
and
like
stuff.
you believe that. They're equal.
No, I'm saying what's implied in this argument. Like,
Okay.
women are equal and stuff. We think they're equal. They're great and all, but they can't be president. They can't lead the country. That's what we're saying by implication. So I'm suggesting the same thing. What we're saying about this religious thing in as it references Kim Davis. The president has to be faith. He has to believe in something. He has to, I could name several things like that. He has to. Before Obama, he had to be male. He had to be white male. He had to have kids, preferably daughters. Pretty much had to be a certain age. Had to have served time in the military. All of this stuff, which is not on record for, what we are on lawful record that we say a president must be to serve. But we're demanding all of these things. So that also falls into the religious thing. He has to have not only a religion; it has to be a Christian religion. So that's basically what we're saying. But at the same time, when that's happening, we're saying the most powerful person in the free world has to have a religious context to become president. Thus, I guess by implication, saying that he will be more moral in making his decisions as president. Why does that not apply to somebody in Kim Davis's position, or somebody who works in the education field, or somebody who works at the local drugstore? Why does that not apply to the same thing? And if it doesn't apply, how that's a really, really strong contradiction.
All right. Well,
Good point.
I ain't arguing with you. All I'm saying is, if your job goes against your religion, you need to find another job, and that's the end of
Yeah,
the
agreed.
story. And if they didn't like it, they didn't put her in jail. Fire her. She didn't do her job. Fire her.
Agreed.
And
So
that's it. Bye, Kim. Get you another job. Bye, Kim. Make that the new catchphrase instead of
Yeah.
Felicia.
Bye,
Bye, Kim.
you heard it here, folks. First, the new hashtag by Kim. Tweet it out. So anyway, I want to thank the wonderful people here on the panel today, Miss Katrina Reese, Mr. Edwin Brown, and I'm Terrence Fisher. Listen, if you guys have a question you want to ask us, be sure to email us at any time at newthoughttalkshow@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to get your question on the show. So keep those questions and comments coming, and until the next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Be careful.